My gender pronouns are he/him. If you have a POI, please vocalize it, and yeah, or stand up and vocalize it. Okay, so I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So in our side of the house, we want to protect children's equality and opportunity, and we think that this PTA harms this, and that's why we don't need it. Okay, so I'll go into in my speech, I'll talk about what like this PTA does and like what the benefits of like some of the benefits, and then talk about our 2 illustrations of what the parents are involved in this PTA. The people that are like very into that don't like the people that don't want to do PTA activities, and the ones that like are like very wanting to do these PTA activities. And let's talk about the first what these PTA activities are. So like, what they do is basically it is a parent-teacher association, and what they do is like they have to take children's photos during sports festivals, or like create food gatherings with teachers and parents or something like that, and these with teachers and something like that. And the burden of proof in our side of the house is the proof that PTA is not necessary, and the benefits and the disadvantages and outweigh the benefits. Okay, and so like the status quo, the purpose of PTA is to like connect parents and teachers. Connect parents and teachers through these activities, connect the teachers and parents. And let's talk. And now I want to go into a hold on. So every year in class, there's a situation where the teacher checks like who wants to be part of PTA, and the parents ask in 3 answers. It's yes, or if nobody wants to do it, I will, or no, right? And basically there are 2 classrooms. One is where there's a lot of people, or there's at least like 4 to 5 people that want to do it, that say yes, and like they're like, and they have to like go through like these. So there's a lot of people that want to do it, and there's the other one where there's like basically 2 or 3 or maybe like 2 or 3 Japanese like parents that say if no one wants to do it, I'll do it, and like the others are all no, and or either there's like nobody that wants to do it. And when in this situation where everyone says no, the teacher has to do like an amidakuji, and like they have to pick these 2 they have to find these 2 parents that have to do it, right? And in these there's 2 situations. Now I want to talk about the one where no one wants to be part of PTA. So in this situation, like so what these parents are supposed to do is like take photos during sports festivals, like organizing teacher gatherings and something like that. So think of it. What the teacher gives as like the reason why people want to do PTA, the incentive to do PTA, is to connect teachers and like teachers and parents, right? But the actions that they're supposed to do, like these taking photos during school festivals and something like that, it's not really necessarily connecting to like these teachers, right? Rather, like something like a parent-teacher conference or something like that might be more important in creating these relationships, right? So like these people, or like creating like school newspaper or something like that. These things aren't like necessary. These 2 parents, it's not necessarily true that it's gonna actually connect to it's not directly connecting to parents and teachers relationship, right? So in this way, nobody wants to do it, and like because they're all busy, and some of them are busy, and through this amidakuji, and so the teachers have to assign. They have to assign these random people, and they get hate from it. And so when they assign people to do jobs, or for this, when the teacher assigns parents to do these jobs, they have to feel sympathetic for what they do, and like and they aren't able to create this like strong bond between the teacher and the teacher and parents, right? So the full year these mom and And yeah, and I want to give an illustration of my mom. So my mom is also a teacher, and so and when I was in high school, she was one of the people that got picked in Amitakuji. So like she was forced to do 1 year of these PTA activities, and as well as that, she was a teacher, so she had to be the one that assigns these parents, right? And so she had both of the burden of like doing this, and she felt very stressful, right? So she felt very stressful. So her main purpose in teaching is to teach children, but she had to go through these random work that isn't directly affecting children, but like she had to do this random work, and it was very stressful for her. And I felt this, and I think that it is true for like many teachers. They going through this every year is very hard. And so now they aren't able to like get this fully good bond. And now what on our side of the house, what we want to do is these PTA activities that are very important, like we think that they should be like split up into like these individual opportunities for like for parents to be able to like participate in one and not just have to serve for like this full 1 year, so that and like split it up into these things, so that there's simple each individual opportunities for parents to participate, and don't have to be like this full huge burden. Now I want to talk about the parents where there's they have very incentive and they want to do the PT activities. These people, so in Japan, it's very education heavy. So like parents care about children's education a lot, right? So like and in some parents that have money or like they have the capacity, it's a very in order to get close to the teachers, they use this PTA and do these stupid or like activities in order to get to the teacher, right? And to these parents are seen as these model parents, and they're given power and like given in hierarchy. For example, they're given special opportunities to talk to teachers, or they're able to get special information from teachers, or maybe they're able to get special high school application forms or like special recommendation offers from teachers because they're serving for these high schools as PTA, right? So in this way, these parents get to have more they get to be part of the children's education, and in this way, for these parents, we think that it's very good. But for those people, for the parents that don't have time or they don't have the financial capacity to do this because they're both working, or they have a language barrier, for example, foreign people that they don't have the capacity to participate in PT activities. To these children, they don't get the opportunity that these other parents have, right? So we think that there's unbalance in this, and so far it's to propose.
Okay, thank you for remarks. Then we'd like to call up on the proposition. Speak in the 7 minutes.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, start. So let's begin with the rebuttal towards the Prime Minister. Their main claim is that PTA is so toxic, which provide a huge burden on the parents. However, two response. The first of all, we think PTA is not so extremely toxic because of two reasons. First reason is that schools incentive. They have massive incentive to cure parents' backlash or this kind of reputation among the mamatomo community. That's why we think in order to prevent this kind of bad reputation, they have incentive to deal with the parents' request on that occasion. And also, because of the liberalization, the common sense of the most of the parents are likely to work at the working place is now rising, so that's why we think they have a massive incentive to care about the amount of the tasks on that occasion. And second reason is that schools' capacity. They have capacity to consider the household situation by providing survey into the every every household. That's why we think these tasks done in flexible way, considering the situation in each household. Let me move on to second response. We think potential PTA members are also many amount of the people exist within the household because they can distribute within the family members. Like mom can ask their husband to do next time on the PTA community. That's why we think not only parents but also the grandparents or this kind of a lot of members can join or distribute the tasks in the occasion. That's why we think that PTA's task is not so toxic for every household. So let me move on to our case. So first of all, as for the teachers, we think because of the PTA, teachers can reduce their tasks in their inner side of the house. So in upward, thanks to the PTA, we can distribute teachers' burden towards every household, like school, having the school event, the sports festival. The teachers require to create a costume in order to make the class activity, or they have to create a newspaper on the occasion. So it can entertain children in every which enhancing the quality of the education, and also they can secure the safety of the school children because they deliver the patrol on the public road or etc. That's why we think these kind of tasks done in many times or so frequently. On that occasion, parents do tasks cooperating each other because teachers take leadership to allocate these tasks into 30 or 40 parents inside of the classroom. That's why we think this distribution is done in efficient way in their side of the house taken.
Why is safety and enhancing education unique to PTAs?
I will explain later. We think that parents can follow this kind of respect because of two reasons. The first of all, they can access the mamatama community, like enjoying the chatting with the friends or etc. And second reason is that they have affection to contribute to the children, which meaning that they have massive incentive to enter in the school children's everyday life, which can enhance the everyday happiness. That's why we think parents also follow these kind of requests provided the teachers. So why in upside without PTA these kind of tasks cannot done in their side of the house? Because simply it cannot outsource universally without the PTA because of three reasons. First reason is the economical disadvantages. In order to outsource these kind of tasks outside of the school, it is costful because in order to hire a lot of patrol members, it is require a lot of tasks to hire these kind of people. It can trickle down the tuition fee or this kind of the cost for the every household. And also second reason is geographical disadvantages because this, especially for this populated area in the rural area, it is hard for continuously use these kind of outsourced accessible workers in that occasion. And third of all, it is most importantly that school must access the uncertain or unreliable person to deal with the every task as for the student. That's why we think they might have the doubt towards the malicious surrender to do this kind of fundamental task inside of the school. That's why we think it cannot outsource universally on the occasion. So the limited only solution to deal with these tasks is the teacher own the massive amount of the task in counterfactual. They forced to own this kind of task which is distributed inner side of the house towards the 30 or 40%. So that's why we think overworking will hardly becoming harsh inner side. Even if impact is the teachers overworking, which can harm the physically and mentally. Teachers might reduce their time for sleeping or do additional tasks inside even in their go back to home. So that's why we think they feel responsibility severely because they blame themselves as a powerless person because it cannot do not have they can not deal with the fundamental tasks inside of the student school. That's why we think that teachers have own massive burden in our side of the house. So let me move on to the second case. We think parents can uniquely access the PTA, uniquely access the community thanks to the PTA, because teachers provide opportunity to frequently meet the mama-tomo community or teachers. So that's why we think that more broadened community is accessible for all of the parents. On that occasion, why relationship goes better, we think simple attachment is applicable because they spend same task or share same memory inside of the classroom. That's why we think detailed communication between the parents towards the mama-tomo community or teachers are applicable in our side of the house. Without PTA, it is hard to access the community because the frequent opportunity to meet each other will decline in their side of the house. So multiple understanding for children is only achievable in your side of the house. That's why we think in order to protect teacher and parents, we probably oppose.
Right, thank you very much. Then we'd like to call upon Deputy Prime Minister for his short speech within 7 minutes here.
Please vocalize your POIs. My pronouns are she, her. We think that uniquely on government side, we can actually protect these children, the kind of educational opportunities that they actually achieve because of the way that parents are treated, because of the hierarchy that is created within the PTA. I think because we are able to protect these people, so proud to propose. I want to first engage quickly with what opposition side told us today then. Okay, first thing they told us was that, safety and, they can guarantee safety and enhancing education on their side of the house at the point in which PTA exists. I already pointed out to you that this has little uniqueness, right? But the only thing they told us then was that, hiring patrol officers or, trying to do this without the PTA will cost money, right? I think, I can agree with this. I think obviously it does cost money, but I simply don't see the problem with this. Of course, a school is going to have to pay money to hire patrol people, but obviously they have the incentive to do so, because if they don't hire these patrol people, if they are keeping their children unsafe, well, I don't understand what kind of incentive they would have to do this. But also note here that PTA people are entirely voluntary. There is very little guarantee that these people will even come to the school and opt into doing these kind of things for the school itself. But also note that even if they do have the incentive, remember that these people have very limited capacity into doing so. They work full time, they have to take care of their kids, they have to take care of multiple children and do stuff like that. So I think that it's very unlikely that this is actually going to be guaranteed on their side of the house. The second thing they told us then was that, these teachers are going to have to take on a massive burden. I think we already told you in our PM speech that the alternative option to PTA is having these specific groups or communities made specifically for events, like graduation parties or sports festivals or something like that. I don't think the necessity of PTA actually exists on their side of the house. But also note here that for teachers, it is their job to enhance the education of these students. It is their job to protect their students. They have the incentive to do so because they are receiving a salary. But note that I think they also have the capacity to do so because they are their entire reputation, their job depends on it. Their reputation between the teachers, other teachers, and other parents also depends on it. Last thing they told us then quickly was about how you can make a community within your PTA. I think again this is simply not unique to PTA activities because first and foremost it's unlikely that this is going to even happen in the first place at the point in which you voluntarily have to opt into doing work for the school and stuff like that. And I think at the point in which they have limited capacity into doing so, I don't see how this can happen. But I also think that going to the school to pick up your children or going to your children's school festival and meeting other parents is also an opportunity to gain connections or build a community within mums or dads or something like that. Okay, moving on. What did we tell you then? The first thing we told you was that the first thing we told you then was that there are parents that have very little, that might have very little incentive to join these PTA groups in the first place. And I think a reason for this might be because maybe they both parents work full time. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the time capacity to do so. Maybe they have language barriers that they can't communicate correctly, or maybe they don't have enough money to actually cooperate or contribute properly. I think the harm of this is that this means that a lot of participants in the PTA, they might be forced to join because because at the point in which PTAs exist, inevitably you're going to have to forcefully recruit people into the PTA. This means that people with a lack of will, a lack of motivation to participate in these activities aren't going to properly fulfill their jobs. It means that security patrol people might not even come to the school. It means that people that are supposed to take pictures of school festival might not even go to the school. They might not even do their job properly or something. This means that a lot of activities are left unfinished and unplanned. This means that the harm of this is then that money and resources put into all of this are going to be wasted. It also means that some people that don't have the capacity to do so can't show up and can't get involved in their children's life, and therefore they are seen as bad parents or something like that. Second thing we told you then is our most important case, which is about inequality and hostility that's going to be fostered within the PTA community. I think the impact of this is a couple notes on this then. 3 notes on this first. I think A, wealthier parents, maybe people with more time capacity, have more time and financial capacity to contribute to the PTA. Maybe they donate a lot of things to the school, or maybe they come to all of these events every single week or something. These people are seen as model parents. They have the capacity to make connections with teachers. They have the capacity to get privileged information from teachers that maybe other people can't get. This means that especially in an academic meritocracy like Japan, it means that some people are going to get academic opportunities. Maybe they are able to ask teachers specially for a recommendation letter or something, or they get special information that other people aren't available for. B, I think that hostility is going to increase within these parents, and because of that, it means that less parents are going to be involved in their children's life in school, which I think both sides agree is very important. I think for these disadvantaged parents that have less capacity and incentive to go to the PTA meetings, to contribute a lot to PTA, it means that they are seen as incompetent. They are not involved in their child's life. They are not caring enough. They are bad parents, right? Which means that parents feel unwelcomed in those kind of communities because I feel like I'm a bad parent and therefore I can't contribute. My voice is not important because I'm seen as someone that doesn't care about their child. These people are unwelcome, and therefore they don't want to go to school meetings. They don't want to go to teacher parent conferences because otherwise they will meet parents that look down on them. They will meet adults that actually look down on them, these snobby people that they don't want to meet, which means that they will inevitably be less involved in their child's life. They're not going to go to their sports festival because they don't want to see other parents. They're not going to be as involved in their school life on their side of the house because of this kind of ostracization. But C, how is this going to affect a child's education and social life in school? First, on social life, I think even among parents, inevitably they're going to talk bad behind people's back and say this parent is not that involved. This means that they're really bad people, so you shouldn't get involved with that. You shouldn't get really close with their child. And I think the incentive to do so and talk bad about these parents and children is because if your child becomes friends with another child, you inevitably have to talk to them, right? Because at the point in which you don't want to talk to them, you don't want your children to get close to them anyway. So I think in a social way, children are limited from being able to communicate with other people. They aren't able to make as many friends because their parents are telling them you shouldn't get close to them. But also note on education, these disadvantaged people, as I told you, get less educational opportunities because they don't get those privileged information to get into good universities or go to good cram schools where you get all of this privileged information and stuff. But I want to note here especially that I think even in the same school, even within that private school, even if the wealth gap is not that big, even if there aren't billionaires up here and really poor people here, there is still a gap between the capacity and time that they have, the kind of incentive they have to donate things and donate resources, right? Maybe both parents are working, but for other people only one parent is working, but they have the same financial capacity to go to that school. I think even this difference makes a huge delta in the kind of capacity that they have to contribute to the school, and therefore trickles down to the effect that it has on a children's education. On our side of the house, we protect these people. Proud to propose.
Okay, thank you very much. Then we work to call up on the law, which shall speech within 7 minutes here.
If you actually vocalize the new pronunciation hissing, please. Starting my speech. Oh, sorry. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1, start. 3 things in my speech was why PTA activity is quite satisfactional things for almost all parents, and that is the reason the parents want to participate in PTA in general case. And second, why generally they have the capacity to do that. So I try to explain why their case like language barrier or kind of inequality of like working task is a little bit unlikely. And last of all, the Wayne. The first of all, the why PTA activity itself is quite satisfactional things for parents. The two things. The first of all, the sense of contribution. For example, let's like characterize a PTA activity like the planning of the sports day or like sports festival or setting of the tent pole or the guarding of the pool opening days in terms of summer vacation or something. Through those like preparing for their loving child, there's a unique feeling of contribution to make to improve the school like environment itself for their child. And this is very unique experiences because in the program that is not allowed for parents to participate in those managing the sports exhibition. So there is no chance to improve the like school system itself for their children if they want to do that. The secondly, that uniquely in our program they can have the sense of reliance to the teacher. That as we consider there are more chance to communicate each other. So for example, how teachers doing and how their teachers thinking for their child itself. Those like concern is quite huge in their program because there are less time to communicate like with parents. Even if they explain that like they have that triple conference like Sansha or Jugyo-sankan is existing in their program. There is very limited for they're just like 2 times or 3 times in a year, and also like the teachers have capacity to pretending to be good teacher at all that time. On that occasion, by managing event many times, like the 12 times or more time in a year, they have more opportunity to teach, to touch the thoughts of the teacher and discuss with the teacher, or they can tell the concern to the teacher, what do you think about blah 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 or something. And this is very important things because and third of all, the making community, like making the Mamatomo community. They pointed out this is not unique in opposition program, so I want to explain the uniqueness of this making community in our program. The same mechanism are here because we have more opportunity to make together something and things events which is like tough like moving the heavy tent together or I don't know or something. By doing that, they can access to the community where they can share the same concern about how like the entrance of exam of your children or something. Why those community is very unique in our program for some reasons. Because generally they have the embers to talk about their huge concern in the family. In their program, they have less time to talk. Like for example, at the best, 2 times or 3 times they are meeting in Jigyo-sankan or something, but there are less chance to like, hey, let's go to the dinner, let's go to lunch, let's talk about our children, I want to talk more or something. This is embarrassing things because that's more personal and that's more riskful. They don't know about like how those other parents is reliable person that gonna be like, maybe monster parents or something. I say explain. The second is that the number they can access. Number of the other parents they can access to is more bigger in our program. At best in their program they can maybe talk to one parent, but I think how those like community is quite big. But in our program, uniquely by doing managing event many times, they have more accessibility to other many diverse other parents. That is the reason that the parents can choose the most best friends, most best good mamatomo. They can uniquely share the most like deepest part of that point. Then let's move to why on that occasion. So I explained why the PTA activity is generally quite successful. That is the reason that generally the parents want to participate in PTA that is uniquely done in upper room. Then I'll prove why those managing capacity is got by the parents. But yes.
So like if the amount of times the parents meet each other is important, how about like getting like extra activity curriculums like Naraigoto? Isn't that also like involved in that? It's like an opportunity for parents to make friends.
I don't think so because Nagoya like is very expensive things and additional things. That is hard. Yeah, if they like the parents are very busy, it's hard for them to search what kind of Nagoya is the best things or something. And I don't know sure how those kinds of the shared content is very likely because in Nagoya uniquely the community is sharing the same school, same classes, same teachers. This is unique. The unique program. Then why the teachers parents have capacity to do that. They mainly concerned about the teachers, the parents are mainly very busy, but I don't think so. I think that they are capable to structure reasons. Because they can cooperation. For example, in class, like there may be 40 children, so they can allocate the all tasks for the all 40 parents in like simple calculation. They can decide. So each parents can decide the order to be responsible for some events. For example, I can be free in summer, so I can manage they can decide the timing to participate. I can manage for the festival, the sports festival more. So yeah, I will be the leader or something. The second, the allocation is will be the smoothly. Then the asma partner accreditation. One is like the and I'll add the nuance that like that why those so in the they explain that A class there are 20 people who want to participate, and B class there are 5 people to say yes or something. I don't think this is likely because the teacher easily can doing a questionnaire, but the parents how much extent you can participate in PTA to like balance out the burden of each parents, each classes, and the other teacher isn't it. Lastly, the weighing the two things about the parents. I think that number is very huge in number than Club because they only talking about the parents who have language barrier, parents who are very busy, don't have enough capacity to participate even at once or something. And so in Nagoya we are talking about more general cases. Why generally the parents have want to do that and have capacity to do that. Second, the depth of the impact. Uniquely, we already explained how those community made by the PTA and how the experiences to contribute to like children is very unique for the for the parents and lastly teachers vulnerability. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much. Then we'd like to call up our speaker for comment bench with short speech within 7 minutes here.
The opposition side greatly undercredits the parents' work in like outside of our educations, right? They all have jobs, they have chores to do, they make our lunch boxes, and that is that is a very big assumption and harmful assumption that the opposition side fails to acknowledge that exactly why PTA is unnecessary and harmful, therefore this should be dissolution. Few things I would like to do in my debate today. Firstly, explain the burden. Secondly, rebut, and then explain to you why PTA is unnecessary and harmful, and then show you the unique harms of the PTA and why it should be disassociated. So firstly, for the government's burden, we have said to you that it is to prove that why PTA is unnecessary in educational institution and prove its harm. And on the other hand, the opposition's burden is to prove the uniqueness of the PTA and how it outweighs the harms proposed by our side. Firstly, rebuttal, right? The main points argued by the opposition side was the economic disadvantage and geographical disadvantages that requires the parents to take part in activities that are otherwise done by like other parts, right? We have already told you that it doesn't have to be in the form of PTA that exists, right? There are local police stations often like providing security for these students like on their way home, and there's also assistant teachers that assist teachers' work in doing so. So why does the PTA have to take all the burden, right? And even if they do have to, we have proved to you that there's an alternative like forming like a committee for that specific event. It doesn't have to be a 1-year commitment where parents have to sacrifice their time and their for their mere event that is caused for parents' satisfaction, right? And the second point proposed by the opposition side is that parents can uniquely access the parents' community. We think this is very unnecessary in terms of like the harm that outweighs this like satisfaction or the like the parents like motive, right? Because it also exists in a paradigm as well to a certain extent, and therefore in the formation of PTA, there's a disparity between parents who can participate, and to maintain a good relationship requires commitment, which I will explain later on. And then there's also said that PTA is satisfactory of these students, and the parents have capacity to do so. This is an assumption without a backup, and we have explained to you why that is a privilege given to only a certain number of people, which creates a further disparity between parents. So there is absolutely no necessity for the parents' community because of the parents' satisfactions, right? Because it is easily overweighed by our harm. Furthermore, I want to explain to you why PTA is toxic and likely to be toxic in every part, right? PTA has become a place for connection and relationship rather than assisting students grow in educational institutions, right? There are frictions between parents who have like intentions of like reaching out to the parents or like for information, or like reaching out to the teachers for like an advantage for their students, right? And there's also disparity between parents who can commit, right? So that is why the purpose of PTA was supposed to help the like teachers or like share the work in organizing student activities. But we say the reality is very different, right? The teachers and parents like have connections, and then there's intentions other than aiding school activities, which are largely harmful on our side with the formation of PTA. So we do say that there are unnecessary parts in the PTA that exist in the PTA that can be easily replaced by other alternatives. And the formation of PTA also forms a structural power balance between the PTA, the parents, and the teachers, right? We have proved to you that parents must be committed for like 1 year, so the teachers feel the burden to like task these parents with like works that are otherwise very not obligatory to these parents, right? So the parents, there's unnecessary and heavy burden for the teachers and the parents, especially when they're chosen against their will. And then we also told you like the likely formation of model parents, right? These are the parents who are engaging enthusiastically in these student activities, or they're there to organize every event, right? And when in comparison to other parents who does not have the capability or capacity to participate in these students like PTA activities, right? There's going to be a bigger disparity between these parents, which leads to these parents' children or these parents eventually gaining advantage that will affect the children's educational career or the path. So we say this is unnecessary and harmful and providing educational environment. So what are the specific harms of PTA that we have proposed to you today? We have told you that it creates disparity between parents who can and cannot participate, right? And then that means like PTA organizing events, it's limited to privileged people. The opposition's uniqueness that they bring out here is that they're going to be meetings or meetups set up by parents, which gives them unique access to like parents' community. We say we do not care about these parents' community when there are so many harms to these parents and the students and even the teachers with the formation of PTA, right? So even if this uniqueness does exist, it is easily overweighed by the harms that we have proposed to you today. And furthermore, this PTA's like parents' community creates disparity in parents who can't participate, right? We have explained to you there's capacities like time, financial capacity, and availability of these students, of these parents, right? So the burden reaches even further than the engagement in student activities, which is not the purpose of PTA, which is why it's so toxic and unnecessary in our paradigm. So the parents and parents' communities are and the ones who are not, right? There's going to be left out of private meetups or like limited access to information that are provided in these like parents meetup that only a few can participate, which causes a friction and between parents because of like commitments issues. So because all of the harms can easily outweigh the uniqueness or benefit, such as satisfaction of the parents or engagement with students' educational career pathways, we are proud to propose.
Thank you very much. Then we'd like to call up opposition whip. Please shall speak within 7 minutes here.
Okay. If you have any point, please stand up and vocalize. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1, go. So 2 things in my speech. First, I would like to make a couple of rebuttals to the government side, and then I would like to summarize up today's argument. So first, about the rebuttals. So first, so the government side told us that the teachers and the parents have burden to manage the PTA. The teachers have the burden to pick the PTA officer on the year, but this is not likely to happen. So as the leader of opposition explained that the mind that the double work parent is arising in the society, in the school, so the school has the capacity to deal with it, so they can to reduce the unfairness. Such important role of the PTA tend to be put in annual way. So like, for example, like last year, Maru-Maru-san's parent have done the officer, so this year, then Basu-Basu-san will going to do this kind of role. So please do it. So such kind of things, and parents can easily expect that next year is their own role. So they have the room, they have the time to prepare for such kind of role, and thereby we cannot say that they don't have any capacity. And second, so they said that the alternative community in the occasion of each event, can work enough to manage such kind of school events. However, this is not true. It cannot be the alternatives. It cannot achieve the goals which the government wants to achieve. So, like, their goal was to ensure the quality of the children's education. But this goal won't be achieved. So because the alternative group is only united in the particular season, the quality of the work will decline. Several reasons here. First, it is an instant group. So compared with the PT is an annual group. So the meeting is going to be occurred in each season or each month. So the parents can talk about it from much more before. And also, even in these occasions, non-cooperative parents don't come to these cooperate with this alternative groups. So it is very mutually exclusive. So in other side, these cooperative parents cannot attend to these kind of groups. So through the PTA, parents can easily and annually interact with each other about their information. So they can feel the sense of unity. They feel like to take hands with other parents and cooperate with other parents if the other parents is suffering from lacking their capacity. So such kind of things. Then I would like to wrap up and summarize our argument. So to this government's argument, they first analyze the 2 characters of parents who is hesitating to participate in the school events, and another one is that who is positively owing to participate to the school events. So they said that there will be an imbalance of the parent, and this will cause a difference in quality of the children's education. So the win here is that even if PTA becomes a burden for the parents, at least the occasion that the PTA provide create a unison with other parents and can collect, and even those parents can collect information. So it also
as for low capacity parents who cannot deal with the daily works of the PTA, they can also the fact that they cannot participate in that group tells to other parents that the parents of Maru-Maru-san is so busy, so maybe I have to take care also about her children or his children, and also I have a room so I can take care of him, and such kind of, because the meeting will be annual, such kind of occasion will be likely to happen. So today's opposition's stance, we have 3 characters here who can directly have the benefit from the PTA. One is the teacher, second is the parent, and third is the children. So I'll explain it one by one. So about the parents. So PTA simply function as an occasion for parents to interact the information of the children with other parents and also with the teachers. So PTA meeting is, as I already explained, PTA meeting is annually held in each month or each season. So the government's alternative group is only set in the particular event, which mean that they only talk about the particular event. So there is no subject about the daily lives. Yes.
So what are they going to actually talk about in these annual meetings?
So because these kind of annual, they also talk about that particular events, but because it is annual, they don't always have to talk about each event. So if there is no school event in like June, they can just gather and talk about their daily classroom. So such kind of information. So next about the teachers. So simply the teacher can lessen their task because the parents can do the task about the school events, like preparing for the guarding of the swimming class, preparing the school trips, or setting the tent and making lunchbox at the occasion of Kaikai. So at this point, in the government side paradigm, the task of the teacher will rather increase because the teacher have to do all the work by themselves, and also at this point the teacher have to feel the sense of responsibility much more in the government paradigm. So in the occasion of an incident or accident, all the responsibility goes to the teacher because the parents there's no PTA, so the responsibility is less, and also for the parents, they don't have to feel the sense of regret by not participating into the school events through the PTA. So teachers simply feel belief that there's not alone. They are not alone. So that even the parents are supporting he or her jobs. So and also without PTA, it is difficult to evaluate the children's family's situation because if such kind of meeting is annually held in PTA, then the teacher and other parents can know that because of the absence of the certain parents, they can know that the Maru-Maru-san's parent is so busy and have a lack of capacity in taking care of the child. So as for the teachers, they can increase the counsel or increase the interaction with the particular children. So at this point, we already explained the importance of the school events. It will simply enhance the children's school life, and it also provides an interaction between parents and children. So at this point, only PTA can uniquely protect this children's education. So we strongly oppose.
Thank you very much. Then we would like to call upon the first speaker on the position bench. Please to the by speak within 4 minutes. Okay.
Starting in 3, 2, 1, start. So first of all, let me check that why our case is clearly standing. As for our first case, we clearly show why this PTA activity can decrease the task for the teachers. So main push coming from GAP side is that there is an alternative community that can alternatively decrease these tasks. However, to response, first of all, I'm not sure how counterfactual looks like. Why it is achievable in their side of the house. Why it is the burden of proof why it is applicable in this debate. And second of all, we clearly provide a mechanism why this PTA is unique. And my LO speech, we provide the mechanism why this PTA is unique. Like enough amount of the human resources are accessible in our side of the house thanks to the enforcement to join the PTA, and also this enhancing the household is the cheaper or accessible human resources for the universal situation on the schools. That's why we think this is a unique point, can universally applicable for all of the student or school. That's why we think that our first case is clearly standing. And as for our second case about the community construction, this is a direct clash in this round which argue the both sides of the house. So they try to describe PTA as an oppressive one, like pointing out the Amida Kuji situation, but they lack the mechanism why it is likely. However, in comparative, we clearly show why this is unlikely. For example, in my LO speech, this PTA activity is done in flexible way, dealing with the construction response, being responsible with the household, and also DLO push the why it is likely, like universally accessible for all of the household, which is the regardless economical situation, and also they can have the sense of contribution by having the chance to connect with the school activities. That's why we think this clash is totally taken our side of the house. Moving on to the best case comparison, even if their case, which meaning that this is a toxic community for all of the parents, we clearly override their side of the house. Our simple metric is the vulnerability on the actors. They explained PTA is stressful for all parents. However, so first case, we clearly success to explain in our first case as the PTA can contribute to quality of the school life, like enhancing entertainment which can prepare for the school events or securing safety by providing the guardians inside of a public law. At the end of the day, it can decrease the teachers' burden, and this benefit finally trickle down on the children. On that occasion, parents generally have the obligation to engage in children's growth because they must be responsible because having a child is their choice. So as long as parents already consent to own burden involving in the education, so it's legitimate to put some burden on the parents. That's why we think we can prioritize children over their parents in case best case comparison in this debate. So that's why we think it is justifiable to force parents to involve in the PTA even if there is some burden, because it can finally trickle down the profit or benefit for the children's growth. That's why we think in terms of the legitimacy on the actors, we clearly prioritize children's growth or reducing tasks on the teachers over parents' burden.
Finally, I'm going to call upon a press speaker from the professional bench. Please summarize this final with informative figure.
I think opposition's burden today was to prove to us the necessity of having the PTA and why it is actually so important for children's development and for the community itself. Because I think all that they seem to push is that, parents can be friends with people. Parents can develop new friendships in a community. But I simply don't see the importance of this. Because these are grown adults we're talking about. They have colleagues, they have neighbors, they have communities that they are already involved in. I think what is more important in this than this is the kind of educational opportunities that children get, the kind of like social circles that these children can make, rather than like, oh, how can the parents be friends with each other? But I think we clearly win on the metric of importance or severity because A, we told you that parents will be less involved in the child's life because of the kind of hostility and hierarchy that is fostered within the PTA. I think that the PTA is counterintuitive because it will lead to this kind of unfriendly relationship between the parents, where some parents feel incompetent and they can't attend these kind of events, which means that they will be less involved in their child's life on opposition sides of the house. But B, we told you that the educational opportunities and things like favoritism between like teachers and the specific types of students are going to happen at the point in which wealthy or people like parents that have capacity are able to make deep relationships with teachers. I think this is very important because it limits the kind of opportunities that students can have just because your parent is working so hard, because because both of your parents work and have limited capacity. But C, I think like even if there is a high burden on teachers, I think like it's unclear why parents must have to like carry this burden instead. It's unclear why parents must be involved in their school life if they are paying teachers to ensure a good education for their children, if they are paying them to ensure an enhanced and fun education at school. I think parents already carry this burden to take care of their children and other siblings and stuff in their home. It is unclear why parents must carry this burden and why we need to care about teachers' burden insofar as it is their job. I think even at their best case, we told you that like our case about like inequality and hostility still stands, because what opposition told us was that like, oh, schools will allocate teachers or something, or like schools can consider this kind like a family situation or something. I think the problem with this is, first, it's just unclear why these schools have an incentive to do so in the first place, but also this doesn't engage directly with our argument, right? It doesn't matter what teachers think of like what the family's capacity is. It matters how the parents view other parents. Like if this parent doesn't come to these PTA meetings, they see them as incompetent, even if they don't have the capacity to do so. It is unclear why these other parents are going to know about the other family's capacity insofar as they are like just PTA, that just other parents and not actually the teachers that are actually like involved in the PTA itself. Okay, but I think we win on the vulnerable actors that we are actually the stakeholders that we are actually trying to protect are more important on our side of the house. We are able to protect children. We're able to like ensure that they have good friends, that they are not limited in the kind of school life that they can have. They're like, especially within an academic meritocracy like Japan, children need to have as many opportunities, equal opportunities, to be as successful as possible, without having to be discriminated by the fact that your parents are like working so hard that they can't attend these kind of PTA meetings. It is unclear, but given these harms, given the severity of the harms that is put on children, why these PTA meetings need to even exist on opposition side's house, because the only importance they say is that, oh, parents can make friends. I don't see why judges need to care about this kind of impact. Proud to propose.
Speech is over. Thank you for a very nice cooperation.じゃあクロージングセレモニーをお待ちください。お疲れ様でした。お疲れ様でした。まあまあまあ、いや、よかったね。まずイラストなんだよ。いや、イラストのことだから。